The protagonist, covered in blood, stared at the sign in front of him. She invites him to see the end of the world. Convulsively, he dreams about it and soon loses consciousness in a dark cave. He has a dream, from which he remembers a long-forgotten name, Cha Shin-hyun, that was his name. Besides, the dream was unpleasant. He had not seen his family for a long time. When he woke up, he was already in this damned cave, and the book, Heavenly Harmony of Pure Art, was lying next to him. And the only clue for returning home was the inscription in this reading, "See the end of this world." The guide believed that he would be able to return to his family if he completed this task, and when he was already on the verge, a sign appeared in front of him notifying him of the completion of training. With tears in his eyes, the poor fellow warmly welcomed the snow-white light, and now he has to return outside. However, when he left the gloomy cave, there was no limit to his grief. This is not his universe, this is the Murim, world of martial arts. Falling to his knees, the guy shed warm tears on a cold stone. The kid did not understand how he deserved such torture. Having spent more than 10 years in prison, this is all that he was awarded. Soon he is distracted by an outsider. A man notices that the poor guy has a good outfit. He whines so loudly that he attracted death to his soul. The man apologizes and says that this would never have happened, but his family is very hungry, and with a blade in his hands asks, could a winner become their food? Soon the bloody blade falls to the unholy ground and the frightened Shin-hyun does not admit his guilt. This is the first time he has killed a man. A yellow table appears in front of him, notifying him of an increase in the level. Standing in front of his former enemy, he begins to laugh and falls into a fit of madness. At that very moment, seeing this message, the guy intuitively understood what he had to do. A mysterious book and a level up, that's what will allow him to return home. He must reach the maximum level. Currently, a long-haired boy presents the tip of a sword to the throat of the head of a demonic sect and asks what kind of head he is. But soon the immortal emperor of the sword answers his own question. Counting on his fingers, he realizes that this is the 8th emperor. It's quite funny that every decade he meets a new head and swinging a beautiful blade blows his head off. At the same time, one of the disciples of the demonic sect attacks him in order to avenge the master, and in a fit of anger calls the killer a demon. It's quite strange that a disciple of a demonic sect would try to insult a person like that. Soon Shin-hyun gets tired of these races and grabs his stunned victim by the head. The poor guy's body does not obey and experiences tremendous pressure from the Emperor of the Sword, but he withstands this test. Then Shin-hyun praises the youngster and leaves him alive in the hope that he will become stronger in the future and properly amuse him. Ordering him to become the next head of the demonic sect, the killer leaves the crime scene. Time flew by unnoticed. In the evening, Shin-hyun throws his sword to a stone and sits down by a tree. He does not know how to dilute his boredom, as an option to create a new sect and grow strong opponents, but this is also already fed up. 140 years have passed since the young man got here. At the same time, he was ready to see the end of this world for the sake of his family, but he no longer remembers their faces. Heaven no longer exists for him. Shin-hyun lives a hellish life day by day. This is where he is going to end his torment, but at the same time he is distracted by a notification. He has reached the external and internal maximum level. The conditions for unlocking the last level have been met, and the guy will be returned to Earth. Shin-hyun was surprised, but then he laughed because how pathetic he looks after giving up. Or is heaven trying to insult him? But it doesn't matter, the guy uses this opportunity. His body is covered with blue energy, and he also asks a strange question: can he be considered a god if he has reached the limit? Although not yet, for this he should discard all worldly desires. But right now his emotions are boiling. He has never felt such anticipation in his life. Most likely his family has already died, because so much time has passed and all these years he wanted to return, just for their sake. But now the boy has another desire: to take revenge on the creature that did this to him. In his rage, he emits incredible power and destroys everything around. There is only one word in his head: I will kill. The demon will definitely find the culprit and kill him. The most powerful energy was released to Earth, and now, Shin-hyun, known as the Immortal Emperor of the Sword, returns to Earth after 140 years of being in Murim. 2011th year. After a car accident with Shin-hyun, a golden-haired goddess appears. Opening her eyes, she says that humanity must develop, because very soon they will have to fight monsters. The girl wants people not to waste her blessing in vain. A smiling man in chains has been waiting for this moment for a long time. 15 years later, Korea. The Red Wolf Dungeon. A woman with trembling hands pulls the bowstring and uses the skill of her class, Power Arrow. She tears the wolf-like monster apart, thereby saving her poor ally. The girl with the bow is the head of the squad, and her name is Cha Yong-sol. She suggests retreating faster to her subordinate, but it's too late. Suddenly a monster bites into the soldier's flesh and tears the boy in front of the head. Brave knights massively lose this battle, and become food for wild animals. The situation is deplorable and the girl understands this perfectly well, because there are still a lot of monsters and they are not going to leave. And also her mana is running out. If she continues at the same pace, she will undoubtedly die. At this time, it hears the noise of foliage and turns around to see her friend deserting. Cha Yun-sol tries to call out to the scoundrel, but she is prevented by the monsters surrounding her. She's about to take a shot, but realizes it's too late. At this time, the soldier who left the battlefield runs and curses himself for joining this group of pathetic insects. He realizes that if he stays here even for a second longer, he will face the same fate as these jerks. The traitor tries to jump into the glowing portal, but a magic arrow lands in front of his face. The wounded mistress goes to the soul of this lousy dog. The deserter immediately pretends to be the most innocent, but the woman takes the bastard by the collar, and with tears in her eyes accuses the coward that their team died. Then the guy shows his true face and says what does he care about the dead, the main thing is that he survived. The girl is finally disappointed in the rich So Jun-hyun. She sees no point in talking to such garbage, for sure, upon arrival home, her father will cover the pathetic bastard. But the leader is wondering if his dad will be able to close his eyes when everyone becomes aware of this incident, after hearing what the guy grimaced with anger, and calls out to his former captain. Not having time to turn around, the girl receives a powerful blow from the traitor. He uses the ability of the fighter, Stone Breaker. After that, Cha Yun-sol flies off to the nearest tree. But the kid is not going to stop there. He can't wait to break this young talent. He comes up with a plausible story in which the whole team was destroyed because of a naive and incompetent mistress. That's the glory waiting for her. The guy swings for a finishing blow and thanks the bitch for her efforts. But suddenly a strong electric discharge hits the villain's spine, and in his place appeared the yet unknown Shin-hyun. Finally he is here. The system congratulates the Emperor on his return to Earth, and reminds him that he has reached the maximum level. At the same time, the guy laughed because of this nonsense. It turns out that the reward for the maximum level was returning to Earth. However, how disgusting it is from the creator, someday he will kill him. Soon, the long-haired guy is distracted from an important conversation with himself and now the naive traitor is going to teach the bastard a lesson. But before that he wants to know who sent him? But the Emperor ignores the bug and approaches the exhausted girl. It looks like she is dying. Seo Jun-hyun was a sucker, because now he was seen with this girl. If everything is left like that, he will clearly be suspected. The man left the guy no choice and he is going to get rid of the stranger. The long-haired man recognizes the pendant on the wounded girl. But at this moment, he is called by the kid behind and who is going to take the life of a tramp. However, the guy was thrown away by an unknown blue energy, which was exuded by a man in a strange outfit, and a second later a huge force burst out of his body. It was like God's wrath. The kid clenched his teeth because of the overwhelming power, could not utter a word. In other circumstances Shin-hyun would not have noticed this case. The guy had previously asked the name of the long-haired one. So behold, I am the supreme sword of the Emperor, Cha Shin-hyun. Although even if a man explains his essence, the poor guy will not understand it. With these loud words he erased the bug from this world. That's right, the great Cha Shin-hyun, Cha Eun-sol's older brother. As a child, the girl often whined. Her parents were rude to their daughter, but the older brother always tried to calm his sister. But he was the reason for the tears, because if this walk in the park ends, the girl will not be able to see her beloved brother soon, since he will not be able to come home often because of university studies. However, the brother, stroking the crybaby on the head, promises that even after entering the university he will often visit her, and on his return he promises to take his sister to an amusement park. The girl smiles with tears in her eyes and agrees with her elder. However, it was that evening that the family got into a car accident, and soon the girl begins to blame herself for everything, because she insisted on going to the park. If not for her, her parents would be alive, and her older brother, he wouldn't have disappeared. At this point, the girl wakes up in a sweat. The guy tells her that he provided her with help with his strength, and also explains to the younger that it will be difficult for her to move because of her injuries. Taking hold of her pendant, the girl asks about the identity of the stranger. Shin Hyun thought that the girl wouldn't recognize him. He says that she is strong and has matured, and now it will be difficult for him to carry her on his back, because she has become too heavy. Taking her by the hand, the girl recognizes her younger brother in him, who gave her this pendant so that she would not be afraid of anything, even if he was far away. The girl begins to sob bitterly, because it was very hard for her alone all this time. But when she comes to herself, she pushes her brother and his embrace away, after which she angrily asks where the bastard who attacked her is. But looking to the side she sees a lifeless body, after which she grabs her brother by the hand and says that they should run from the crime scene right now. After returning home, the girl sits silently on the sofa, while the great emperor wanders around the house and observes that nothing has changed here. But Eun's soul worries about something else, because the director of the Dawn Guild and also the father of the murdered man will come to their souls. Previously, Seo Kang-jin was a member of a criminal gang. His toughness is notorious. In addition, he is one of the 11 high-ranking hunters of Korea. Looking at the time, the girl says that she forgot to report the situation due to fainting, but surely the head of the guild should have already found out about the death of her son, and the only suspect remains the girl. However, the brother declares that he can just kill this Seo Kang-jin, because he is the supreme sword of Emperor Cha Shin-hyun. The girl took her brother by the neck and does not want to listen to the nonsense of the elder, because the head of the guild has a high level, and also what a terrible nickname it is. He returned 14 years after the disappearance with the pronounced 8th grader syndrome. The girl is very worried about the current situation. Why does she have such a test? My parents died, my brother disappeared, and now this. Approaching the family photo, he sadly learns about the death of his parents. Eun's soul is interested in where her brother has been all this time. Then the guy tries to briefly explain the reason for his strange dialect. All this time he has been in a place called Murim. The reason is quite confusing and he himself needs to learn a lot. But now it's not up to that. The elder asks who the hunters are, and also what kind of guild. However, the sister is in no hurry to answer the accumulated questions and suggests discussing it later, and now she needs to hurry to the Dawn Guild. Opening the door to the room, the martial artist is impressed, because nothing has changed here, as if he was here only yesterday, and he is also surprised, his sister has become so grown up and strong. Shin Hyun decides that he needs to catch up and become a good, big brother again. Suddenly, the long-haired man hears a crash. The assassins from the guild came to the soul of the girl and using impressive force, they break down the apartment door, after which the guild director asks where she is. Meanwhile, the girl arrived at the main office of the guild, but has the leader already made his move, or will she suddenly be captured as soon as she enters the building? She is distracted from bad thoughts by a smiling woman with coffee in her hands. Her name is Lee Ji-hai, and she is also the deputy leader of the guild. The pink-haired one thought that Eun's soul went on a raid with Seo Jun-hyun's team and asks if something happened. The black-haired woman is in no hurry to answer, because the girl on the contrary is one of the 4 strongest hunters in South Korea, and she is also too unpredictable. Can I trust her? Although this is the only chance, squeezing her sore hand, the girl decides to take advantage of her last opportunity. At this time, the enraged emperor chastises Kang-jin, because didn't his parents teach him not to break down doors, especially when entering someone else's house? In anger, one of the bandits asks if it was necessary to knock politely or something. However, the director stops his subordinate, and once again asks the question. He is not interested in the identity of this clown. The only thing he needs to know is where is Cha Eun's soul. The long-haired guy is cheekily interested in the reason for her search, maybe because he killed his son. The old man in anger releases his dark aura and rushes with a sword in his hands at the vile killer, but Shin Hyun meets the danger with a smile on his face. At this time, the deputy director, after hearing the whole story, asks again about Cha Eun's soul's older brother, who has returned from Murim. She wants to meet him, right now. The hunter strikes a powerful blow with a sword, but the emperor dodges such an attack without any problems. In the air he notices that the enemy's sword is imbued with some mysterious force. In principle the aura of the hunter and the energy of the sword are similar, but they have different origins. The long-haired one understands that this is the ability of the so-called hunters, which Eun's soul, the son of the guild head, also used a strange power, and Shin Hyun is increasingly interested in it. At this moment, the brutalized old man strikes the next blow using the skill, consecutive blow. But this ability did not greatly surprise the owner of martial arts and was easily blocked. Now he appreciated this strange power. The man was sweating with bewilderment. How could this clown block this attack with his bare hand? And right now he's pushing the top ranker away with one hand. But the news that there are 10,000 such hunters in Korea will greatly annoy the monster. At this time, the sneaky mutts of the director jump behind him and prepare to strike an insidious blow, but they are blocked without any problems. At the same time, a magician joins the battle and also strikes a powerful blow in the back, namely the ability, Fireball. At the same time, one of the bandits is already celebrating his victory and decides to strike the final blow. However, the demon has nothing to do, and smiling, he says that this is excellent, because they exceeded his expectations. After that, he releases some of his strength and pushes the bug away. The enemies are shocked, because all the blows inflicted had no effect. But at this time the long-haired man was thinking about something else entirely. He is delighted with humanity. Because if you believe the words of his sister, the guy was absent for only 14 years, and the level of fighters reached the apogee in martial arts. This means that humanity has equaled the level of Murim in 14 years. Now there are enough people in this world whose skills are at the peak of martial arts. It's incredible. But unfortunately none of them reached a level equal to the top 10 martial artists. In the past he challenged the best masters in order to reach the top and establish his rating. It was an incredible fight that ended with the victory of the invincible emperor. At this time, Eun-sol calmly takes the deputy director to his brother's home, but deep down the black-haired girl is insanely worried why the girl suddenly wanted to meet her missing brother, and it's not clear at all whether she is a friend or an enemy. However, it's strange, why did Lee Ji-hai offer to hush up the matter with the guild leader in exchange for this meeting? The sister could not refuse such a tempting offer, but what is this pink-haired woman thinking about? At this moment, the deputy director decides to ask again if it is true that her brother disappeared 14 years ago. The black-haired woman confirms this information, because her brother disappeared in the 2011th year, and this turns out to be exactly 14 years. At the same time, rosy-haired in anticipation, 14 years is 140 years in Murim. How strong will he be? After getting the information, he decides to find out everything about Shin Hyun, while his sister says with a smile on her face that her junior is very kind and gentle, and also, he was able to go to university on his own without the help of repeaters. But most importantly, he always brings any undertaking to an end. The scuffle continues in the apartment. The emperor decides to turn to the frightened magician, and he wants to see that unknown force once again, and blithely asks to attack himself again. At this time, one of the gang tries to attack the back again, but Shin Hyun breaks his face, because he is not interested in this worm. Another bug in confusion tries to attack the guy with ice fragments, but the emperor saw a million of such tricks in the ice palace of the North Sea, and remembering the ice palace decides to show his greatness. Ice palace ability ice dragons came out of nowhere and covered the poor guy with ice. Seeing this mystique, one of the bandits asks for his life and shamelessly runs away, but a barrier has been put up in the building for a long time. The exit is blocked, and as soon as he managed to realize it, the boy falls dead in front of his boss. The same one was at a complete loss. Who is this guy? That was the question he was asking himself. Barrier, magic lead, he casts a spell at the click of his fingers. Maybe the monster belongs to the system of magicians. But the magician would not have blocked such a blow, and the most important thing is that despite such a battle, the apartment did not suffer a bit. The only thing that came to mind was that the kid had previously prepared some kind of trap in the house and was waiting for his enemies in this flycatcher. But the long-haired man refutes this theory. He simply used the sword of reason and enveloped this area. The boy did not want his house with precious memories to suffer in any way. Well, it doesn't matter in principle. Having broken into his house, they got into his territory, and now they have to pay back properly for this insolence. The old man is not going to give up and wants to take the monster with him to hell. Kang Jin uses the Berserker ability, namely, Berserker Blast. His strength has increased significantly, but the price for this strength will be life. The distraught old man recklessly attacks, and the long-haired man effortlessly dodges all attacks with a sword. The man is completely distraught, and it makes no sense to conduct further dialogue with him. Shin Hyun decides to show his respect for the valiant fighter, and in return for the courage of the old man, he gives him a quick death. It is a great honor, because it was the blow of the emperor's supreme sword. Soon the sister brings the guest home, and with horror in her eyes notices that the door is broken, and also sees his brother, who is trying to erase the remnants of blood. He was late. In defense, the kid asks his sister not to panic and announces that this is a housewarming party. But the sister is not going to calm down. Why is everything covered in blood at the housewarming party? And also, why does this non-personal brother continue to get into trouble after his return? Meanwhile, the long-haired one notices that the inner art of the unknown strangely resonates with his origins of the divine martial art of culture. It turns out that he is not the only person who has visited such a place as Murim.